Vicky, it's a day where all the kind of gory and extraordinary detail of this kind of war inside Downing Street is splashed across the papers. Two questions. Who are these people and why do they matter?
And that's a very good question, because many people watching this will be thinking that the government should be focusing on those losing their lives, not losing their jobs, I think. But it is important because, yes, we've all seen power struggles before, particularly around advisors in number 10. But this is about decision making. These people are making decisions every hour of every day about things that matter to us and people watching at home. So it's important how they make those decisions and who they are. And when you talk about who they are, well, some people will have heard of Dominic Cummings, of course.
I saw sexism in some of the front pages this morning. To what extent has this been a fight back by some very powerful women around Boris Johnson against a kind of lads' club?
Well, I think there's definitely an element, because we have a new press secretary, Allegra Stratton. She's come into number 10. There's talk of tension there. And then there is the role of Carrie Simons, the fiancée of the Prime Minister. Now, it's not just a partner talking to their partner about things. Carrie Simons worked for the Conservative Party at quite a senior level.
She knows the party inside out, doesn't she?
She knows the party. She has an allegiance to the party, which some say Dominic Cummings has never had. And of course, she wants Boris Johnson to do well. So there's that element of it. She has a lot of friends, but there has been briefing against her. She's been called various things in the papers today. She's been referred to me as Lady Macbeth up in the flat on her WhatsApp. And this has been seen as many people, as a very personal attack on her.
It's quite a feud. Camilla Tominey, you've been covering this all the week for The Telegraph. It's being portrayed as a kind of soap opera, and the extraordinary detail that is pouring into the newspapers has a few jaws on the floor this morning.
It does really. I mean, all of these briefings coming from
aren't being consulted. There's particular concern the new intake representing those seats in the north of England. They want more input. There's talk today of new policy groups, and then of going back to a cabinet-style government where they actually make decisions rather than just rubber stamping what's been told to them by Dominic Cummings.
I can remember exactly the same argument going on in the Blair years about is cabinet taken seriously enough and all the rest of it. But there are some very, very effective senior Conservatives now on the backbenches, having been expelled from the system. I'm thinking of people like Jeremy Hunt, I'm thinking of Sajid Javid, Tom Tugendhat and others. Do you think we're going to see a reshaping of the cabinet, perhaps early in the new year, to bring in a wider range of people?
Yeah, I mean, there's talk of a cabinet reshuffle now. Which of those people might be brought back is another matter. Sajid Javid was talked about as a chief of staff, actually. That's what they're really looking for, someone to be at the centre of this. He, I think, has made it known that he probably won't be doing that. Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of people feel that the cabinet were appointed for loyalty. They were appointed in case of a no-deal Brexit, and that might well not be the case come January, and it's time to refresh that and maybe bring in some new talent. So things could change. The tone, I think, will definitely change, likely to be much more towards compromise.
We read, I don't know if it's true, that Dominic Cummings is working from home on this so-called moonshot project. Do you think these changes are going to have any impact at all on the way the government handles coronavirus?
I think that's not as likely. I mean, I think what is said about Dominic Cummings is that actually he couldn't do everything. He tried to do everything. And in the end, he was very much focused on the moonshot, the mass testing. And that's why he is going to continue to work from home until December, because you can't just leave government overnight when you've been that influential. And there are friends of his who say, look, if that works, if the mass testing, that rapid turnaround, if that really does work, that will be very much down to him and his legacy. Now, whether it's the other approach changes very much, I'm not so sure.
Camilla, can I ask you about, there's a lot of people around Boris Johnson, going back to the time when he was London mayor, who said this is going to herald the return of the kind of friendly, open, liberal, softer-edged Boris that we used to know. Do you think that's in any way likely, or do you think that's a fantasy?
Well, I think Tory MPs...
Finally, about this story on the front page of the Mail on Sunday, about The Crown. Because this is a very glossy, beautifully made, very popular television series or drama. But if you were, as it were, Princess Camilla, if you were sitting in Buckingham Palace and you were watching this, you'd be pretty horrified, wouldn't you?
Do you know what? They've been long horrified. I think the first...
Camilla Tominey and Vicki Young, thank you both very much indeed. Both very, very hard-working people,